Hi guys, welcome to today's video. I hope you're all doing well. If you're new here, my name is Erica and I do some time-lapse videos over here. Today I am working on my Inktober drawings from 2021, so that's what we're doing. And this is kind of a long video, it's about an hour long. I decided instead of doing a bunch of short little videos, I would just take all of the drawings from the month of October and put them into one big video. So here they are. So the prompt for day number one was crystal, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was actually really not even sure if I was going to participate in Inktober when I started doing these, so I went with really simple stuff. Um, and the prompt was crystal, and I love crystals, and I love snakes, so I decided I was just going to go ahead and do this. You know, a little snake with a crystal, and that's what I did. And if you guys are interested in checking out any of the products I used to do these drawings, they will be linked in the description part of this video. I will also have in the description part of this video and in the comment section of this video a time placement for every drawing that I did. So if you just want to kind of skip around and look at different drawings, if you don't want to watch all 31 drawings, you can go in there and, I'll have a little timestamp for each drawing. So now I'm done with day one. We're moving on to day number two, and the prompt for day number two was suit. So I decided to go with the suits from tarot cards. So we went with the rods, the swords, the pentacles, and cups. So I did the suits from the minor arcana in the tarot cards. And I'm a big fan of tarot cards, love them. I think they're really cool. I have quite a few decks, not as many as a lot of people do, but I think they're cool. If I find a deck that I like and I like the art, I'll probably pick it up and buy it. And it's one of those things. And since I decided we were taking this day by day for Inktober in 2021, I was still working at a hardware store and not really sure, if I was going to make it day to day. I did, spoiler alert, I did make it. There was a couple of days I wasn't quite sure if I was going to make, well, it might have been the next day in Florida, but I made it by California time. It was still the same day. So I did good as far as that goes. So sorry guys if the audio is a little choppy, not always my greatest part, and this is kind of a long video, so I'm going to try not to mess it up too bad. But then, okay, so spoiler alert as well, if you're watching this and listening to this, I am actually working on a deck of tarot cards as I'm doing this recording, so hopefully we'll be done with those. Not sure how long it'll take me, but I've got pretty much everything figured out and planned out, and I will be starting those and hopefully finishing them within, hopefully this year. I would like to get them finished by the end of 2022. That's my goal. So we'll see what happens. And this one's almost done. I'm adding the little bits left of the gold that I decided to do because I love the gold. And I'm using Dr. P.H. Martin iridescent copper plated gold, I believe is what it's called, or I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Oh, I have one right in front of me. Here, let me take a look. It is Dr. P.H. Martin's iridescent calligraphy colors 11R copper plate gold. So that's the gold I used. And now we're on to the next picture. So this one was Vessel. Vessel was the prompt for day number 3, and I didn't really want to do things that I thought would be real obvious, but this, when you're doing these prompts, sometimes it's hard to come up with different things or original things, or something that not everybody else is going to think of. I mean, even if you think you've got like the most original idea, I can guarantee you that somebody out there has thought of the same idea you thought of. It never fails. So I went with a little like magic glass vessel that was holding like a little bit of maybe a little magic something inside of the vessel. I like magic stuff. Magic stuff is always pretty and glowy and So that's what I did with some melted candle wax on top. At first I was going to do like a little tie, but I didn't like the way it turned out. So you'll see in some of these, if you watch close enough, I might start something and then just completely erase it and then end up with something completely different. So I think we're on day number 4, and I believe the prompt, well, I don't believe this, I'm not sure if it's day number 4 still. I can't remember. Is it day number 4? Are we on the 4th one? All right. I can tell you what the prompt is because I remember the drawing and I remember the prompt. So knot was the prompt for day number, whatever day this is. And I decided to do 2 snakes in kind of like a Celtic knot together. And I went with a lighter color snake and a darker color snake. They are actually California king snakes is what I was trying to recreate. That was my reference that I was going with. And my sister used to have 2 California king snakes. Medusa and Perseus was their names. And one of them was a black California king, and it had the bands on it, like the rings. And then the other one was an albino one, and it had stripes instead of rings. So they were kind of cool, you know. They were different and the same. They were the same and different. So that's what I did for this, was knot, and this is what I came up with. If you're an artist and you participated in Inktober, let me know. Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll go check out what you did. I love to see what everybody did for Inktober. It's always fun to see the different prompts and see what everybody comes up with. Because, you know, like you said, a lot of times people do the same things, but you just never know when you might see that thing that's just, you know, like, wow, well, that's really cool, you know? So, yeah, I'd love to see what you're doing. And now we are on to day number 5, which is Raven. And for day number 5, I decided to go with some Stephen King symbolism here. So I'm a big fan of Stephen King. I love his books. I've been reading Stephen King books since I was very young. And the Dark Tower series is definitely one of my favorites that he has done. I loved those books. In entirety, I've read them all 3 times, but the first couple books I've read a lot more than that, because there was a time where he wasn't putting that book out, and you know, I had to read what I could get, and there was many years that it stopped at the Wastelands, and you know, I didn't know if I would ever see another Stephen King book, but then finally, you know, he started writing them again, and now they're all done. And so the last time I read it was after I was in a motorcycle accident. I had to take 8 weeks off to let some stuff heal, and I took that time and I reread those books again. So that was the 3rd time I read them in entirety, and I just love those books. If you're a Stephen King fan and you read his books, I mean, to read The Dark Tower, the series, it's really cool to see how he just ties everything together. So it's a lot of fun, and love the books. And the prompt Raven, of course, you know, that's a big symbol in those books, and in a lot of his books. And of course the rose, and then I went with the grapefruit, the bows of the rainbow, you know, the grapefruit ball, the pink crystal ball. So this was all that symbolism there, and that's what I did. And the pink grapefruit, I believe, was from the 4th or 5th book, The Wizard in the Glass. I think it was the 4th book, but I could be wrong. I'd have to double check. It's been about 3 years since I've read them, so it's been a little bit. But yeah, I just love those books. I would love to one day see these books maybe done in, like, you know, Game of Thrones fashion or Lord of the Rings, you know, just like really some good detail and good long storyline. I did see the Dark Tower movie, and it was good, don't get me wrong. I liked the movie, but it just doesn't, you know, it doesn't capture the book, which most movies, I guess, don't really do that a lot. I know that was a lot of problems with, like, the people that were really invested in Game of Thrones. The ones that were reading the books were really disappointed in the story on HBO because, you know, whatever. I wasn't invested in the books, so I loved Game of Thrones from season 1 till it ended. I really didn't have any complaints, but I can understand why some people would. So anyway, okay, now we are on to, let's see, we are on to day number I believe we're on day number 6. I think it's day number 6, and the prompt is spirit for that day. And I will say that that day I had a hard time thinking of something to do. So I went ahead and I let Google help me out. What I did is I went into Google and I searched spirit, and the first thing that came up was a horse, a cartoon horse, and I hadn't seen the movie. I still haven't seen the movie. I might watch it. I don't watch a lot of cartoon movies. I did a little bit when I was younger, but not even then really, which is kind of surprising. You'd think I'd be more into cartoons, the fact that I'm an artist and everything, but cartoon movies don't always do it for me. So anyway, I love horses. I love Mustangs, and so I figured this would be a good one. It'd be nice and simple, be pretty quick, and it was a quick one. I think I would have worked late that day, and I had a lot of stuff going on, and I just was looking for something to do that was nice and quick and simple and that I would like and enjoy doing. And that's what I did. That's what we went with. And this is what I got. And Spirit is apparently a Kiger Mustang. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm thinking Kiger because it's spelt with a K instead of a T, like tiger, like Kiger. And since Tiger is tiger, I'm assuming Kiger is Kiger, but I could be wrong. But anyway, it says it's based on a Kiger Mustang, and I guess they're only considered a Kiger Mustang if they're born in the wild. If you born them in or if you breed them in captivity, then they're considered a Kiger horse. So yeah, that's kind of neat. But anyway, okay, so now we're on to the next picture. And the prompt for day number 7 is fan. So I decided to kind of throw 2 ideas into one prompt. So not only was I going for like fan, I also was going with fan art because Katana is one of my favorite characters in Mortal Kombat. So a little bit of fan art, and also, she's got some fans. So 2 birds, 1 stone, or would that be 2 stones on 1 bird? I don't know. Anyway, that's what I went with. I will say, as a rule, I try not to draw like people for these kind of challenges, especially when I know that I'm on a time limit. Except for Inktober, I mean, not Inktober, except for Mermaid. I draw a lot of people for Mermaid. Because mermaids, but they don't have legs, so really it's kind of like only half a person, so it's not the same. But anyway, I try not to draw people, but I will throw a person in there once in a while. I tried to keep this really simple, not too crazy, just a little bit of a figure, and a pose, and that was it. And blue, I love drawing with blue, especially clothing. Like blue and gold together are my favorite, like, colors together sometimes. They're not my absolute favorite. Green and purple are my favorite colors together, but I love putting blue and gold together. Even though this was blue and silver instead of blue and gold, I really liked doing this one. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. Mortal Kombat, I've been playing Mortal Kombat since it was probably one of the first video games I played when I was a kid. Probably, oh geez, I was a teenager then. It's been a long time. When I was playing those original ones, I don't even think Katana was a character in those original ones. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a really long time. But I do know that she is one of my favorite characters. I like the aesthetic, and that's what I went with. So yeah, she had silver in her outfit, but I'm always using that gold paint, so there we go. All right, and now we are on to day number 8. And the prompt for today, or day number 8, was watch. And I struggled with this one. You watch, you think timepiece. So yeah, I was going to draw a watch, or maybe a hand with a watch on it, because, why not draw a hand? That's always a challenge. But then I decided to just go with a keyhole and somebody watching through the keyhole. So that's what we did. That's what I did. I drew a keyhole and put a little eyeball staring through it. I love to draw eyeballs. I love the colors in eyeballs. They're pretty. You can always do different things. You can always do unique things. And one of the best things is if you mess it up, more than likely nobody's going to know. except for you, because you know what you want things to look like, but nobody else really knows what you're striving for to look like unless you have a reference photo. Of course, then if you have a reference photo, everybody knows what you're trying to make it look like. But if you're just going from something in your head, they can't see that. And if they can, then there's other problems, and that doesn't matter. But like, so so sometimes it's okay to not have references, because then you can kind of make things work how you want it to. And if you mess up, you're the only one that knows, and nobody knows any better. So yeah, I went with this. I just kind of was having a little fun with some coloring and throwing the eyeball in there. I wanted the eyeball to be really kind of a bright blue. That way it was like you could see it, and then, just kind of leaving the other colors just kind of toned down and neutral and muted browns, whatever. So that's what I did. And now we are on to day number 9, which was pressure. Again, this was another one I kind of struggled with thinking of what I was going to do, because pressure, I mean, there's so many different things that you can associate with the word pressure, but like to really put it into a drawing is sometimes a little bit of a challenge. So I went with somebody biting into a fruit, a lime. I figure, pressure on the lime, squeezing the lime, a little bit of pressure. And I like to draw lips, and I love to draw like wet things that kind of look wet, that have like shininess to them, or sparkly or smooth kind of. I like that, a transparent kind of look. That's always fun to do. And I think I've said this already, but we were really, for this challenge, going for things that I thought were fun to do and that I like to do. So that's what we did, and this is what I came up with. I actually, to get this reference, because if you get online, there are some people biting into things, and you can, it seems like everybody does all of them. You only have so many pictures online, and there's not a lot of people biting into limes. But what I did was I took a ball, and I just put it in my mouth, and I took a picture of my own mouth biting on this ball, and so that was my reference. It was my own mouth that I used, and I just kind of improvised because I didn't have a lime, and I'm not even sure if I could have got a lime, maybe a key lime I could cut and fit in my mouth, but I didn't have any key limes on me or in the house, and I wasn't necessarily going to run up to the store just to get one. So I just got like a little rubber ball and put it in my mouth and made it work, and this was it. So here we go. And yeah, I liked the way this one turned out. I would have liked the lips to have been a little pinker, but whatever. You can't make it all come together. And then now we are on day number 10. And day number 10, the prompt was pick. So I figured, pick an apple, pick a cherry, pick a fruit, pick something, you're picking something. So I went with a hand reaching up to pick an apple. That was it. And hands for me, I have the hardest time drawing hands, and I don't know why. I mean, I know there are tricks to doing it, and I can do those tricks. Like I use them, I implement them, but they never look right to me. I feel like until they're done. Hands are like one of those things, like you're second guessing it the whole time until it's actually done. I feel like that's what it is for me, because until it's done, it doesn't look right. And I don't know why. But yeah, so I struggle with hands, but I think a lot of artists do. I think that's a pretty common thing. But I was pretty happy with the way this one turned out. Once it was all done and over with, I did work on it quite a bit. And that was my hand too, of course, holding my own hand up and trying to see the different whatever. So now we are on to day number 11, which is sour, which also could have probably fit with day number 9's prompt. I could have just went back a day and said, hey, we're doing this one again, but I didn't. Okay. We went with sour, and I decided to do a lemon since I already did a lime for pressure. And they have these really cool pink lemons. They're pink lemons, and they're actually pink on the inside. And the lemons are cool looking too, because they're yellow, but they've kind of got like spotty little green markings on them, so they're not like completely yellow like a normal lemon. And of course, why not throw an eyeball in there, because I like to draw eyeballs. So that's what I did. Something a little different, but you know, not too different, not too, quite a few people did or drew, I should say, quite a few people drew lemons for the prompt sour. I wasn't the only one. And I probably wasn't the only one that drew a pink lemon either. I'm sure there were probably other ones out there. But I did like the way this one turned out. In the end, I was very happy with it. And now we are moving on to the next day, which was day number 12, and the prompt for day number 12 was stuck. And this one I was stuck on too. I mean, I tried to think of what I would do for stuck, and I mean, this is what I came up with, but it took me a long time to think what I would do. So I went with an hourglass just because I like to do hourglasses, and I kind of thought about doing an hourglass for watch, but then, you know, I didn't do it. I did the eyeball instead because I thought that, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I kind of already had an hourglass in my head, like I'd like to do an hourglass because they're kind of cool, you know, they're clear and they're usually pretty neat looking. And I figured stuck, we'll have it stuck. It's stuck, you know. So there's a little blockage right in the center, right where the sand should be coming through. So it's not falling through, it's stuck. So this is what I went with. And I just kind of wanted to do a pretty looking hourglass. Just something really cool, something that, you know, I would like. And this is what I came up with. I really, you know, I really struggled with some of these prompts. And I also struggled with the fact that, you know, you're kind of on a time limit, and you want to do certain things, but you also want to do the challenge. And I really wanted to do the challenge, but I really wanted things to look good too. So I tried to not be too detailed, but just detailed enough that I was happy with it, but not that it would take me forever. So this one I really liked. I was very happy with the way it turned out. There were some things I wasn't quite sure looked right, but you know, it was what it was. In the end, it was all good, and that was it. So, oh, and you can see the bruise on my arm. That was on day number 6. I was playing with the dog, and she got a little rambunctious, and she kind of like pinch bit me. You know, she likes to do that kind of flea bitey thing, and sometimes she just uses her little fronts of her teeth, and she'll bite you, like a little pinch bites while she's playing. And she got me on my arm and left a little bit of a bruise. And it's funny because you can kind of watch it through the series. The day it happened, it's kind of just like a little red welt type thing, and then it just kind of gets a little darker as the days go by, and then it finally starts to fade and get a little lighter and a little lighter as the days fade out. Oh, and then here we are, we're on the next drawing. So this is day number 13, and the prompt for the day was roof. And of course, you know, roof is a roof. It's something that goes over your head. So there was lots of different things I could have chose to do. I thought about doing like a little house or a little something, you know, maybe a little cabin or something like that. But I ended up going with a mushroom because I love mushrooms and I love little animals too. So I have a little mouse hiding under the little roof of a mushroom, and that's what I went with. I had a lot of fun. This one is probably right up there in my top 3 of my favorites because I really liked the way the underneath of the mushroom turned out. I was kind of wanted it to look like it was glowing almost, like it was lit up, like luminescent almost, and it turned out the way I wanted it to. I was happy with the way it turned out, and that was it. So that was my little mushroom on the moon with a roof over the little Misa's head. So, yep, that was it. And let's see. And you know, I thought about using the gold leaf for these instead of the ink, but the gold leaf, using the adhesive, it takes a little long to dry sometimes. And I've also found that with the rougher paper, I don't know what it is, if it kind of wears off the gold leaf sometimes, but the papers, when they go, they'll start to stick together. They'll like wear off the gold leaf and then they'll start to stick together. Okay, so now we are on day number 14, and the prompt for that day was tick. And since I'd already done you know, there was already watch. I didn't really know what to do. I wanted to do the bug, like a bug tick, but I also get really grossed out by ticks. Like, they give me the heebie-jeebies. They're like, you know, a lot of bugs, I'm okay with bugs for the most part. There's a couple of bugs that ingrained in my head, they give me the heebie-jeebies. I'm kind of trying to work that out. Like roaches, really, ooh, just give me the, ooh. Even though I should know, you know, spiders don't bother me, millipedes don't, lots of bugs don't bother me at all. Actually, most bugs don't, but there's a couple that just, I guess it's, what do they call that? Generational trauma? It's just certain things that are engraved in your head. Well, ticks creep me out. Ticks really do. And it was really hard for me to draw a tick. So for me, I had to really kind of make this something pretty. So I went ahead and I made it kind of like a watch. So it's kind of like, you know, time. Time is the tick sucking the life out of you. I would think I was kind of tired, and you know, work was catching up to me, and I was out of time on it. So there was like a lot of stuff playing into this kind of pretty negative, pretty but negative kind of art piece. Because that's really what I was going for, was, oh, and apparently I forgot to cut out a little bit of that. But anyway, so yeah, it was kind of like supposed to be like, you know, time is the tick sucking the life out of you. So there it is. And I was happy with the way it turned out, even though like I said, ticks aren't my bug. I like to draw I like to draw bugs, not ticks. That tick was okay because it didn't really look like a tick. Boy, they're just gross though for me for some reason. I guess I shouldn't pick on them like that, but I do. So okay, anyway, now let's move on to the next one. So we went with day number 15, which was helmet. And I thought about all sorts of helmets because, motorcycle helmets, maybe like a Trojan helmet or like a Spartacus helmet, or something like that, because I'm playing Skyrim and there's like a ton of different helmets that you can do. But, I was also kind of wanting to have fun with these, and I love squirrels. So I went ahead and I decided I was going to go with a squirrel wearing a little acorn top for a helmet. So that's what I came up with, my little squirrel wearing an acorn top for a helmet. And I feed squirrels outside every morning. I give them salted roasted peanuts. I mean, the birds eat them too, but mainly I put the salted roasted peanuts out there for the squirrels. And they're just so cute. They just run around and they'll bury these little salted roasted peanuts, and I love watching them. They'll dig up the ground, and then they'll put that peanut in there, and then they'll just like shove all that dirt back in, and they'll pat it, and they'll pat it and pat it and pat it. So like all over the yard, these little holes where you can see where the squirrels are burying the peanuts, and you can sometimes find dug up holes too where they went back and got their peanut. Although I've heard that I think I think squirrels lose something like 70% of the nuts that they actually bury and hide, which is how forests get started. Which makes sense to me. I mean, it could be true. I'm not doing the research, but I did read that somewhere, and, it makes sense. So they have short-term memory loss, apparently, and the world benefits from it. And the other animal that really liked the salted roasted peanuts that I was kind of surprised by were woodpeckers. The woodpeckers really love those things. And, I guess I always thought woodpeckers just ate bugs because they pecked wood and they ate bugs. I didn't think that they ate seeds and stuff, but they do. They do eat seeds too, and they love salted roasted peanuts. So, okay, now we are moving on to day number 16. And the prompt for day number 16 was compass. And, compass, there was, of course, compass. Compass rose. I thought about doing a compass rose. But I didn't really want to because there's a lot of stuff involved. And that day I had didn't get started on this drawing until it was probably almost 10 o'clock at night. So I only had a couple hours to really work on it. So I Googled compass and this flower came up. I wasn't expecting a flower to come up. I was expecting maybe different kinds of compasses, maybe a simple compass. But there's this flower. It's called a compass flower. Who knew? So I went ahead and I said, I'm going to draw a flower. Because flowers, they got a lot of petals sometimes, but they're for the most part pretty easy to draw. And that's what I went with. Something extremely simple, extremely easy, but sticking to the prompt. So there was my compass flower, and I was happy with the way it came out. I really, I would have liked to have put in a little more detail into it, I feel like, or I don't want to say effort, because in the couple hours that I did have to work on it, I put as much effort into it as I could have. I just would have liked to maybe have done something a little more. So then here we go, and I think that was compass was day 16. So we're over halfway through now, because now we're on day 17. And day number 17, the prompt was collide. And that's another one, I wasn't sure what to do. I thought about doing a comet, maybe, headed towards something, or what I ended up doing was two goats. So like almost like they were getting ready to butt their heads together. Like, so a collision with two goats instead of meteors. And this one, yeah, I probably should have really thought about it before I did it, because it was a time-consuming one. I wasn't really thinking, and I couldn't find like pictures that I liked of two goats butting heads together that looked able to be easily manipulated and turned. So this one I kind of had to do on my own. So it's not as realistic looking as I would have liked it to have been, but I was happy with the way it turned out. I love doing the goat horns because it's all those little flowy lines together. And yeah, that was it. So this was my prompt for day number 17, which was collide. And now we're on to day number 18, and the prompt for that day was moon. And I think I was off that day, so I figured I'd put a little bit more effort into my art, because I had really been not putting as much effort into it, I felt like, for the few days before that. So for day number 18, I figured I'd put a little bit more time into it and, do something I really liked. So I went ahead and put a little lady on the moon, and she's kind of pointing at a star, like she's reaching out, trying to touch it, because I think everything should be touched. I mean, if it's pretty and it's shiny, I think we should get to touch it. So that's what she's doing. She's reaching out to touch the star. And that was it. And I had fun with this one. I wasn't sure what to do about like the coloring. I was going to do blonde hair, but then I'm like, no, let's do something a little more fun. So I decided to go with some pink hair. Who, pink hair, don't care. And kind of give her a little bit of a, kind of like a Greek goddessy type feel to it. So like kind of like a toga look to it, but not really a toga, but then the lace up sandals and stuff like that. So yeah, that one was fun. I enjoyed this one. Was it one of my top 3 favorites? I think it was, actually. And I did a print of this one of a bigger print, because I wanted to see how the pinks would turn out, if the color in the hair would look good. And it did. It looked really good. So I have a print of this one that as soon as I get my act together and get things straightened out, and I want to get it framed and hang it up on my wall. So that is a plan, and I'll probably do some gold foil on it to embellish it, because unfortunately I can't print the gold. I have to put the gold on if I want to have the gold. So, okay, now we are on to the next prompt, and that was day number 19, and the prompt for that day was loop. So this probably makes no sense to a lot of people. Loop. Well, maybe because I guess it is a mummy hand. I mean, maybe you think that, you know, the wrapping around the mummy's hand is what I meant by loop. But what it actually is representative of is the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So if you watch Buffy, you might remember the episode, I think it was called Life Cereal. Pretty sure it was Life Cereal. And Buffy was trying to figure out what to do with her life. So she was working at the magic shop, and she kind of got stuck in a loop where she had to help a customer. And it kind of like Groundhog Day type thing for people who have never seen the show. It was like a Groundhog Day type of experience. But anyway, this mummy hand and this this dagger of Lex in the mummy hand. So she stabbed the mummy hand and killed the mummy hand with the dagger of Lex. And this is what it is. And if you ever want to watch Buffy, and of course, how long she's been out, spoiler or not, I mean, I won't spoil it for you, but this was my version of Loop. It is in a reference to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So another show that I absolutely love. I have watched that show so many times. Oh my gosh. I still watch it. If I can't figure out what I want to watch and I just want to watch some comfort TV, that's what I would consider comfort. That's my comfort TV, is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I just love that Scooby Gang. Okay, and now we are moving on to day number 20, and day number 20, the prompt was sprout. So, of course, you know, I think of sprout and I think of something sprouting out of the ground, growing. So I wanted to do like a little seedling type thing, but I wanted to have a little fun with it, of course. So I threw a little eyeball in there. So it's like a little eyeball that's sprouting up out of the ground, and it's starting to upturn, just kind of, it's getting ready to start opening up and taking a look around. And I keep seeing, I'm sorry guys, I didn't realize that I had those blank spots in there where I'm not doing anything. I thought I got all that cut out of there, but I guess I didn't. But anyway, I guess maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it and just cut it out later. Oh, no, I can't do that. Okay, it doesn't matter. So sorry about the little spots. I guess I could have made this a few seconds shorter by cutting those out. Or maybe I'm just obsessing over it. I guess it doesn't matter. So, yep, here's my little seedling eyeball sprouting into life with the world. And yeah, this one I had fun doing. I love, like I said, love doing eyeballs, and plant life is always good, and it wasn't too hard to do. It didn't take me a lot of time, which is always nice. Can get things done when you're supposed to, when you know, on a time limit. It feels like you're on a time limit. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I know I probably sound like I'm complaining, like I'm really stressing myself out about these drawings and gotta get them done and all this. And I mean, like I do stress about them a little bit, but not like so much that it's detrimental to my mental health. Like if I was like so stressed out that like I would have stopped. I have stopped. The first year I did it, and I stopped. I mean, I like to do these and finish them because I really love to fill up a sketchbook. And I know how I am. Like, I could say, okay, I'm going to skip a day because I'm really tired, and I'll go back to it and I'll finish it later. But I know me, and I know that won't happen. So that's why I really kind of push just to get them done. But like, if it was detrimental to my mental health, I wouldn't worry about it so much. So even though I know I probably kind of sound like I'm complaining sometimes in here, like I'm being whiny, and gosh dang it, look at, I did it again. All right, there we go. Some empty space. So even though it sounds like I'm complaining, I'm really not. I really love doing these challenges. And so then we are on to day number 21. And the prompt for day number 21 was fuzzy. And of course, fuzzy is going to be a great prompt because I love fuzzy things. I mean, there's just so many fuzzy things that I love. So there was a lot to choose from. But what I ended up going with in the end was a little bitty moth. And it was a little fuzzy pink and yellow moth. I love pink and yellow together. I think those colors together are so pretty. And I just thought it would be pretty and it would be fun to do. And it was. And it wasn't real time consuming. it didn't take a lot of time, and like I said, that was also something I was looking. So it's nice to do something that you can do and you can still be happy with, even though you feel like you maybe didn't put as much time into it as you wanted to, but it still turned out good. So yeah, that one I really liked, and I just thought that moth was so cute. I had to draw it. And this little moth is a rosy maple moth, and I won't try to even pronounce the Latin names for them, but they come from the great silk moths. So like those type of moths. So yeah, it was just so cute, the little rosy maple moth. And I was gonna do its little face too, but I really liked the back part of its wings, and so the way I wanted to set it up, that's just it ended up being what I went with. So that was the drawing I went with. And then now we are on to the next day. And what day are we on? What day are we on? We are on day number 22. And the prompt for day number 22 was open. So I went with a key because keys open locks. And that's what I did. And I made a little type of skeleton type key, but with mushrooms because I love mushrooms. And it's like, okay, so I'm gonna do a key, but what do I want to do with the key? Because I don't want to just like do a key, like a house key. So we went with just a little mushroom design inside of a key. I used to play a game called Keyblade. Keyblade? Was it Keyblade? It was like a Disney game, but also Final Fantasy. It was like the two mixed together. So I think a lot of times when I draw keys like that, I get a lot of reference from, like, that's in the back of my head, like that game where that kid used to use keys to fight everything. And he always had the coolest keys. Like the keyblades they were pretty cool little pieces of art. That was always something I always I imagined like would be fun, was designing those types of things for games. Like that must be so fun to do because they're, and there are always so many different cool ones. And yeah, so that's what I went with, was just kind of a key. And I used instead of doing circles with the gold, like most of the times I just use like circles or half moons or something like that, and that's what I used to do my gold. What I'm doing right now, I decided to do it in the shape of a keyhole because it was open. So that was it for that day. So now we are on to day number 23, and the prompt for day number 23 was leak. So, leak I thought about doing just a drippy faucet. That was my first instinct, was to do a drippy faucet. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to draw a faucet. And a lot of these, it just came down to whether or not I wanted to draw something or not. So we went with another type of little glass container because I like drawing little clear type container thingies that are iridescent or clear or shiny. So I went with a little perfume bottle, like an old style perfume bottle with a crack in it, and it's leaking some of its little stuff out. So that's what I went with. And I kind of stuck with the same colors that I did with the vessel that I did in the beginning. The third day, not the first day, the third day was vessel, and it was a clear bottle too. I love the pink liquidy kind of thing. I love the pink colors, like those really bright pink colors on the markers. It was some of my favorite colors to draw with. And of course I'm using Copic, and the favorite pink Copic marker that I have is excuse me, is the RV04, which is the shock pink. And I actually had a little bit of a time where I couldn't get a refill for that color, and finally it came in. It actually came in before Inktober started, but my shock pink marker had been dry for quite a while, so I used that a couple of times in this drawing, or in this series, because I could, and I had a refill then. So yeah, that's one of my favorite colors. And there's another one that's one of my favorite colors. It's like a light blue, and that blue I actually could not get a refill for it. I have not been able to get a refill for it, and that's the frost blue. It's the B00. So I actually had to buy the markers themselves to be able to get that. Okay, so now we are on to day number 24, And for day number 24, the prompt was extinct. So what I did was I did an extinct bird, and there was a parrot that was, I guess, the only native parrot to the United States of America, and it used to be in like the southern parts of the states, I think like South Carolina, Georgia, and like those areas. And it's extinct. You can no longer see that bird flying around free in the wild. So let me see what it's called. I can't remember. Let me do a little research real quick. Okay, yeah, it was called a Carolina parakeet, and it was around in the Carolinas, so in the Midwest, in the plain states of the United States. And it is extinct. It was what it looks like now. And let me tell you what, an extinct bird, it's hard to find a lot of reference pictures for an extinct bird. So there's only like so many pictures out there of it, and most of them are pictures of like when they stuff an animal, what do they call that? Taxidermy. They're like all taxidermy pictures. So it's like pictures of the bird. It's not like it's not like a picture of a moving, living around, happy looking bird. It's a picture of a bird that looks like it's been stuffed. So sometimes that's hard to kind of use those for references. So I just kind of made it work the best I could. Okay, and now we are on to day number 25, and the prompt for day number 25 was splat. So I decided to just kind of go with the splat of color. I just wanted all the color in there. And we went with the rainbow because we love rainbows. I like to try to do at least, especially in these Inktober, these series, I like to try to do one, rainbow friendly picture, just like with just rainbow colors in it. Even like during the mermaids, I always try to do something. So yeah, so this is what I did for this one, and it was just, I wanted to do a fun colorful splat, make it look like some ink splatted. And it was funny because when I started it, I was trying to like color without getting into the hearts, and then I was like, why am I doing that? Because I'm gonna have gold in the hearts. So then you can see I just went through the hearts. It's like it's gonna get covered up. Nobody's gonna know. So they're not gonna know. They're never gonna know. Whatever, something like that. So that was what I did. I ended up just instead of trying to go around the hearts, I just went through them, and it's like I'll fix it later. And so that's what I did, and I was happy with the way it turned out. I would have liked it. I don't know if I didn't get enough, I think, shading in it as I wanted to. Something didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it to, but I was pretty happy with it all in all. So okay, and then we are on to day number 26, and the prompt for day number 26 was connect. And I had no clue what I was going to do for connect. I was just like winging it. So finally I was like, okay, chains connect things, right? So I did these 3 little chain links, and then I was like, okay, what am I going to just do chains? I was going to do that, and then I decided, you know what? I'm going to do like wooden chains with like mushrooms growing off the wood, and it's just very abstract, and just did something that I thought would be fun, that I would like to look at. I love drawing mushrooms. They're one of my favorite. I love mushrooms, and I love to eat mushrooms. I love to draw mushrooms. I think they look cool in the wild. I just, all in all, just love mushrooms. So I had to have some more mushrooms in there. And this is like something I kind of come back to once in a while when I don't have an idea of something I want to do. Like I will take something that I like and turn it into something that I want to draw. So, like I've done like I gotta stop saying like so often. I feel like I say like a lot. Anyway, so I've done skulls that were made out of wood with mushrooms growing out of them, snakes that were made out of wood with mushrooms growing out of them. So it's kind of a theme for me if I'm stuck and I can't think of what I want to do. I usually just turn something into dead wood and make mushrooms grow out of it. I do that sometimes. So anyway, I was happy with the way this one turned out in the end. I did have a lot of fun doing it, and like I said, it's always a plus when you're not sure if it's going to be right and then it does turn out right. It's always a win-win in the book. And I decided not to do a circle in the center or like in there anywhere because I really just wanted those chain links to kind of take up the whole thing. And that's why I did the little loops, because I wanted it to incorporate it into the framework, but not take away from the actual chain links in that connection. So, okay. Now we are on to day number 27, and the prompt for that day was spark. And spark, I decided to go with a brain because they spark. They're supposed to have electricity sparking around inside of a brain. And that's what I went with. And of course, like I said, I had gotten my pink in, my refill, and I really just wanted to use that pink a lot. So we went with a brain and we made it that bright, bright pink color. And then I just kind of I wanted to kind of give it a glowing look. And I wanted it to kind of look like there was some lightning in a bottle type thing going on with it. It didn't turn out exactly the way I envisioned it. This one didn't, I will say for sure. It looks more like just a brain to me. Like looking at it, it just kind of looks like a brain. I don't see I think I needed more contrast in the pink and the white, which was what the problem was. And I didn't pull it off exactly like I wanted it to be pulled off, but I still like the way it turned out. Like I said, if you don't know what it looks like in your head, then it's hard to tell that it didn't quite turn out right on the paper. So that's kind of to my advantage sometimes. Luckily, I didn't have any kind of reference to compare it to, and it just turned out the way it turned out. So a pink wriggly little brain, that was it. And then I think we're almost done here. That was day number 27, so we have 4 days left, and we're going to be moving on to day number 28. And day number 28 was crispy. So for crispy, crispy was a hard one for me. I really didn't know what I should do. So pickles. I love pickles. I love pickles. I've loved pickles ever since I was a kid. I used to eat them all the time when I was a kid. I still eat pickles. In fact, one of my favorite ways to eat a hamburger I eat vegan hamburgers now, but still, even just vegan hamburgers, I love my hamburgers to have a ton of pickles on them. Mayo, cheese, and pickles. And that's all I want on my hamburgers. So I decided to draw a pickle for crispy because, like Vlasic pickles are supposed to be known for their crispiness, I think. Crispiness? I think it's the crispiness. There's another word, I think, too. But anyway, crispy, that's what I was thinking of. So I just drew a pickle, and in the background circle, I kind of wanted to be like the pickle juice with the mustard seeds. So yeah, that's what I went with. It was just a fun little pickle drawing. And it's another one where it's like, you really can't mess it up because there's so much going on in a pickle. Like it's just nothing but a bunch of little bumps and lumps on it. And so yeah, it was a fun one to do. And one of the things I did use, and I do between the coloring and the white, I usually spray on some varnish, like a clear coat of varnish, whatever, just to keep, because I've noticed that when I put my white pen over color, it'll absorb the color sometimes. So you'll always see there's like this little bit of a break between the coloring and then the white. That's when the varnish gets on. So yeah, that's in there. So okay, now we're on to day number 29, and day number 29, the prompt is patch. So since, October, Inktober, that's Halloween, we're getting close to the end. Patch, I thought it would be fun to do like a pumpkin patch, but then I was going to do like a pumpkin patch, like a patch of a bunch of pumpkins. And I was like, well, how about like a patch, a pumpkin patch? So this was another one where it was like 2 ideas for 1 prompt. So I decided to do a pumpkin patch that looks like a patch. And I have never done this type of, you know, look before. So I had seen it done. Like, I've seen it done on tattoos a lot. People making tattoos look like they are patches on their skin. And I think that's really cool. So that's where I got this bit of inspiration from to do it this way. And you can see I'm going kind of in with a clear. So I put my colors down first, and then I took clear and I drew lines in the colors with the clear to kind of give it a look that look like it's sewn on, like sewn on. And then I did the white before I put my clear varnish down, my clear coat. That way it would kind of absorb that, because I did want it to absorb some of that color that time. So I went ahead and I put some white down where I wanted it to absorb a little bit of color, but still be a little brighter than the color. And then I, of course, do all my other stuff, my outlines and stuff. Because once I spray it with clear, I can't go and put the outline. I can't write over it with my black ink pens. It doesn't look right. And I can't do the clear after I do my gold, because it makes my gold not shiny. So the gold gets done last always because I like it to be shiny. And okay, so now we are on to day number 30. And day number 30 is Slither. And at first I thought about doing one of the little, from that movie Slither, where it looks like all those little slugs are slithering towards the bathtub. I thought about that, but then it's like, I didn't really want to do that because I didn't really want to draw a bathtub. It was that simple. I didn't want to draw a bathtub. So I decided to go ahead and go with a snake. And I was looking for a certain type of look with the snake. I kind of wanted it to look iridescent. So you'll see when I do this snake, I put down a lot of color first, but then I go over it with black, or like a dark color. It's not black. I use the cool grays, but one of the higher cool grays. And I really wanted that color to bleed through more. I thought it would turn out different. I was going for, like, I thought when I put these little clear dots down that it would kind of break some of that dark color up, and that the other color would show up underneath. And what I should have done it the opposite way, probably. I probably should have put the dark color down and then put the clear, or the colors over that, and then did the little clear dots, because what ended up happening, the effect that I really wanted is more on the back of the page than on the front of the page. Maybe I should have went from the back. I don't know. I don't think it would have worked out that way either. But anyway, so yeah, I should have probably, in hindsight, this is how you learn things sometimes, I think. I probably should have put my dark color down first and then layered my colors over that, and that bleed through probably would have been a little bit more like what I was looking for, because it just looks like a black snake with some shiny, and I really wanted those colors to show up more. But I mean, it still looks good, don't get me wrong, it just didn't look exactly like I wanted it to. And now we're on the last day. Day number 31 was Risk, and I went with a risky mushroom. Like, you don't eat these mushrooms because it'll kill you, right? So and then they're poisonous, and I also figured, like, well, like, why not make the little white spots that are on top of the mushroom's cap look like a skull instead of, you know, just random mushroom spots. So that's what I went with for this piece. And of course, these are a pretty popular mushroom. I see these drawn a lot. This is the Amanita muscaria, and you see them all over the place. And I figured, you know, I've never seen one in real life, but I figured might as well draw one. Why not? It's fun. So, okay. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching today's video. I appreciate you, and a big thanks to all of my subscribers. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you guys so much for sticking around on my channel. I know I dumped a bunch of videos the other day, and they didn't have any sound, and they didn't have any music, and I was really just trying to free up some space because I have all these Inktober videos in here, and I needed to make a video, but I couldn't get it to edit together without getting rid of some videos. So sorry about that, but thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye!